So as we sit here, and we take some nice deep inhales and deep exhales in through the nose, and out through the nose. Every inhale, think about lengthening through the spine, through the crown of the head. Really seeing if you can touch the ceiling with the crown of the head. And every exhale, just let that spine slightly release. Soften through the hips, soften through the knees. And then beginning to flutter the eyes open. Take a big, deep inhale and lift the arms up above the head. Palms together at the top. Stretch the fingertips as tall as you can towards the ceiling. Gaze to the thumbs. And as we exhale, drop the hands down the central line of the body. Good. Inhale, lifting all the way up. Gaze to the thumbs. And exhale, draw the hands down. Just one more here. Inhale, big lift. And exhale, drop the hands down. Good. From here, we're going to roll straight over into our table pose. So from our table pose, make sure the wrists are directly into the shoulders, make sure the knees are directly into the hips. You can tuck the toes under or take the back feet onto the floor. As we inhale, just drop down through the belly, drop the chest between the shoulder blades, lift the gaze. As we exhale, press through the hands and draw that spine all the way up to the ceiling. Allow the head to release. And keep moving here in your own breath. So really clocking into that inhale, clocking into that exhale. Good. Good. And as you're moving through your inhales and exhales, I just remind, so Lily, just because you joined a little bit later, we're just working with a theme this morning of acceptance. And we're going to be doing a few inversions, so going a little upside down into headstands and one arm balance. I don't know what your level of yoga is, but I just want to say we're working with acceptance, so we don't need to worry about where we're at with these. It's fine. We're just working at where we're at currently with everything. So maybe we're going to go all the way up. Maybe we're nowhere near that. It doesn't matter. We're just stretching ourselves on this Wednesday morning. From here, let's begin to come back to neutral on our exhale into our table pose. We'll take the hands a little bit forwards. Tuck the toes under if they're not already. Draw the hips all the way back down. Before we come up to a downward facing dog, we're going to reach the hands even further forward. So we want to stretch these hands as far forward as we can to draw this chest towards the floor. If the chest can get considerably low enough for the elbows to come onto the floor, we can place the hands together into a prayer position, drop the forehead down, and draw this prayer towards the nape of the neck. If you're a little far off from the ground, that's fine. Just keep working with the chest moving down towards the ground. And think about the shoulder blades drawing away from each other. Holding here for 2 deep breaths. Inhale. And exhale. Think about the feet, think about the toes. See if you can draw all 10 toes down onto the ground. Last big breath. Inhale here. As you exhale, if your palms are on the nape of your neck, just draw them all the way back to the floor, back into this variation of child's pose. And then engage with the core. We're going to lift slightly up, draw the hands a little further back. Keep the toes tucked under and lift the hips up into a downward facing dog. So in our downward facing dog, looking between the thighs, lift the hips as tall as you can, keep the knees nice and bent. Focus on the toes for this moment. So moving onto the balls of the feet, just lift the toes as much as you can off the floor, spread them out a little bit and place them back down onto the ground. From here, keep the hips lifting as if somebody's drawing your hips up, 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 up. The chest lifts through, and then we can begin to walk the dog from here. So taking one heel down and straightening the leg, bending the other knee, and taking the other heel down, straightening the leg, bending the other knee. So moving and walking through a down-facing dog, giving your hamstrings a really big stretch in the morning, and keep that big breath. Good, lovely, everyone. Slowing this down if you can.
The slower you do this, the more of a hamstring stretch it's going to be as you push through the back of the knee of the straight leg. And then we would slowly start to come back to stillness here in our downward facing dog. As we come into stillness, think about the fingers first. So really press down through the fingertips. As you do this, you may find that there's a slight arch in the palms. See if you can press down through the base of the index finger. Push down through that. And as you do this, notice what goes on in the shoulders. So everything starts to move with each other. Up in the shoulders, they may start drawing together a little bit more. See if you can draw the shoulder blades away from each other. So they're sort of wrapping them around the front of the body. It's as if they're not friends. They don't want to touch each other. They don't want to come together. And then begin to lift through the hips as high as you can. Allow the chest to move through slightly. And then from here, keeping that kind of that length from the fingertips all the way through to the hips. The knees may be bent here, that's fine. From there, we're going to see if we can push through the backs of these knees. And it doesn't matter if you can't get all the way straight, because it's first thing in the morning, we're just warming up. We're just pushing through the backs of those knees and maybe encouraging the heels down towards the floor. And just see where you get to. Again, we're working into that theme of acceptance. So you may usually be able to get everything, the heels all the way down to the ground, the legs really, really straight. But you may not be able to right now, because we're just warming up the body. Be okay with where you are. The knees might be really bent. The heels might be really off the ground. Just take a couple of deep breaths in to notice and acknowledge where the body is, and to be fine with that. Inhale, lift the hips. Exhale, draw the chest through. Last big breath in. Draw the heels down, draw the back knees away from you. Last big inhale. As you exhale, bend through the knees. Look towards the hands. Step the right foot in, step the left foot in. All the way to the top. Take a nice hip distance apart with the legs. And then taking hold of the elbows. Drop the elbows down towards the ground. Allow the head to release. Give yourself a little sway from side to side. Maybe straightening the leg that you move away from. Allow the head to be really heavy. The arms to be heavy. And then from here, come back to stillness. Change the arm position. So taking hold of the other elbow. So it might feel just a little bit weird. So you're just changing all the way around, kind of swapping sides of the elbows. And then begin to sway once more. And coming back to stillness in the middle, allow the backs of the hands to meet the floor. Completely drop down, bend through the knees, let the head be heavy. And slowly, slowly engaging through the core, we're going to roll all the way up to standing. Working through each vertebrae as we come up. And once you're all the way to the top, draw the shoulders all the way to the ears and allow the hands to drop down to the side of the body. Good. We're going to come to the top of the mat. So working into our sun salutations now, we're going to warm the body up, get it nice and warm, nice and hot. As we do this in the sun salutations, again, working with this acceptance is you may be able to do a chaturanga when you get down, where you fully go down with the knees off the ground. Today, I'm going to let you do whatever you want in terms of that. So if you want to go straight through to jump back, to lift to your upward facing dog, do that. But before we start, we're going to come into our Tadasana. We're going to scan through the body. And I really want you to start to kind of take control of your practice in terms of what feels right for you and at what point. We're going to do 5 sun salutations. So you can kind of make them harder, easier as you go along, whichever you're feeling, and start to really tune into what does your body need this morning. Let's come to take the feet about hip distance apart. We'll take the fingertips down towards the ground. Just lift those toes off the ground once more, spread the toes out, and place them back onto the ground here. From here, close the eyes. We'll start by thinking about the feet. So drop the weight into the feet, drop the feet into the ground. Slightly pressing down through the 4 corners of the feet. So 2 corners on the balls of the feet, 2 corners on the heels. Allow yourself to, as if there's roots going through the feet, to allow them to draw down.
and then engage just slightly more into the outer edges. Allow this to lock into the ankles a little. The ankles begin to get engaged. We start to move up through the calves. A slight micro bend in the knees, so they're not fully locked out. Up into the thigh, and then into the hips. Allow the hips to draw down towards those heels. And then from here, draw in slightly with the navel and begin to lift that upwards towards the ceiling. So as if there's this lift coming through the spine, through the ribs, all the way up to the crown of the head. It's lengthening and lengthening you as if a piece of string is moving through the crown of your head and it's lifting you upwards. Soften through the shoulders. Shoulders are really released here. And then the fingertips draw down. So the shoulders start in a soft position, and then the fingertips activate and draw down towards the ground. Keep the gaze soft behind the eyelids. Allow the face to release. Take a big deep inhale in through the nose. A big deep exhale out through the nose. On the next inhale, we lift the hands all the way up to the ceiling, open the eyes, gaze to the thumbs. As we exhale, drop the hands down to the floor. Place both palms to the floor, bend the knees as much as you need. Head releases. Inhale, halfway lift onto the fingertips, lift the hips. Exhale, palms down, stepping all the way back into our plank pose. Options here, you either take the knees down to the floor or you come into a full chaturanga. It doesn't matter, it's up to you which you want to do. And then once you've released all the way to the floor, draw those elbows inwards, lift either to a baby cobra, cobra or upward facing dog. Press through the toes, peel the chest forward. Draw the chest back down, and on the exhale, come back to a downward facing dog. Holding your downward facing dog for 3 deep breaths. Good. Lovely, everybody. So you can walk this dog out now. You can come into stillness, do whatever feels right for your body. Inhaling. And exhaling. 2 more deep breaths. Inhale. And exhale. Last big breath, coming back to stillness in your downward facing dog. Inhale. And exhale, bend through the knees. Look between the hands, either step or float forwards. Halfway lift onto the fingertips. Exhale, palms down, head release. Inhale, lift all the way up. Good. Draw the hands down to the side of the body. Inhale, lift. Exhale, palms down, head release. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, step or jump back, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, cobra, baby cobra, or upward facing dog. Upward facing dog, we lift the knees off the ground, press the toes, draw the chest through. Exhale, downward facing dog. Hold here, 3 deep breaths, inhaling. And exhaling. Good, 2 more breaths, lovely. Inhaling. And exhaling. 1 last breath. Inhaling. And exhale, bend through the knees, look between the hands. Either step or floating forwards. Halfway lift. Exhale, palms down, head releases. Lift the hips. Inhale all the way up. Good. Exhale, draw the hands down. Inhale, we lift. Exhale, palms to the floor, head release. Inhale, halfway lift. Good. Exhale, step or float back into Chaturanga Dandasana. Good, everybody. Inhale to baby cobra, cobra or upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog, 3 deep breaths. Lovely. Inhaling. And exhaling. Perfect. 2 more breaths. Inhaling. So if you're doing things on your own time as well and exhaling, then that's great. We're taking ownership today. We're accepting where we're at. If you need to go slower, if you want to go faster, that's for you. Last big breath. Inhale. As we exhale, bend through the knees. Look towards the hands. Float forwards or step forwards, halfway lift. Exhale, palms down, head releases. See if you can lift the hips as high as possible. Inhale, lift all the way back to standing. Draw the hands down. 2 more times. Inhale, lift. Exhale, palms down. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, step or float back through your chaturanga. Good. Take your time. Good. Really nice, everyone. Lovely. Amber, lovely, Julie. And inhale, lifting all the way up through our upward dog. Exhale back to our downward facing dog. Great, everybody. Holding for 3 deep breaths. Lovely. Beautiful, Kelly. Inhaling. And exhaling. Inhaling. And exhaling. One more breath here. Inhale. As you exhale, bend your knees, look between the hands, you can step or float forwards, halfway lift. Exhale, palms down, head release. Inhale, lift all the way back to standing. Draw the hands down. Last one here. Inhale, lift the hands. Good. Exhale, palms to the floor. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, all the way back, Chaturanga Dandasana. Good work, everybody. Yes. Inhaling to your baby cobra, cobra, or upward dog. And exhale back to your downward facing dog. Staying for 3 breaths. Inhale. And exhale. Keep lifting through the hips, drawing the chest through. One more deep breath here. Inhaling fully. And exhaling. Bend the knees, look between the hands. Either stepping or as lightly as you can, we float these feet forwards, tune to our halfway lift, and then exhale, palms down, head releases. Inhale, lift all the way to standing. Draw the hands down the central line of the body. Good. And we're going to come to the feet hip distance apart, moving straight into a balance. So from here, take the hands onto the hips. We're going to begin to press into this left foot. So what we want to do with our balancing poses is we want to find a gaze in front of us that is going to be steady. So if it's me, I might move slightly. So I might not be the right one. So find a gaze in front of us nice and steady. Then we want to lift our toes up on the left foot, press them back down, spreading them, and start to shift that weight into that left foot. So pressing down through the 4 corners, again, in the foot, engaging into the ankle, engaging into the calf, the knee, the thigh, all the way to the hip. From here, we can begin to lift this right foot off the ground, and then we can take this right foot either onto our calf or all the way up onto our thigh. So just not onto the knee, we just don't want to place pressure on the knee. And we're coming to our tree pose. From here, we can take the hands to the heart center. As we do this, there's 2 kind of opposing forces going on here. So we want to root down into the ground as much as possible with this left foot, and at the same time, like we did in our Tadasana in our mountain pose, we want to lift from the navel up through the spine as if this crown of the head can reach the ceiling. Soften through the shoulders. And then if you feel steady enough, we can begin to lift the hands up towards the ceiling. Good, growing the branches. Nice, everybody, great control. Just taking a couple more deep breaths here. Inhale. And exhale. Taking one more big inhale. And on the exhale, keeping everything, we're going to twist just from the waist upwards towards this right foot. So we're twisting a little bit, open twist, over towards the right. Hold here for 1 deep breath. Inhale. And exhale. On the inhale, lift all the way back up. Palms together, draw the hands to the heart center. With control, engage the core and slowly lift this foot all the way down towards the floor. Good, let's change sides. So begin by lifting the right toes off the floor, spreading them, placing them back down. Press down through the 4 corners of the feet. Find your gaze in front of you, hands to the hips. Begin to lift this left foot onto the calf or all the way up to the thigh. And take the hands to prayer. Press the thigh or the calf against the foot and press the foot back. Lift from this core all the way up through the crown of the head. And maybe taking the hands up towards the ceiling. Good. Big deep breaths. Inhale. And exhale. 1 more deep breath here. Inhale. And as you exhale, keeping the bottom half exactly where it is, begin to open this twist up towards the left-hand side. So we might have to change the gaze here. It can really change the dynamic of the pose. Take a big deep breath, inhale, stay with it. And exhale. On the inhale, let's lift back to center, back to our tree. Good work, everyone. And draw the hands down the central line. Engage the core and lift this foot all the way back to the floor. Good work. Inhale, lift the hands. Exhale, palms to the ground. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, stepping back through our plank pose, moving here through your chaturanga. So rock forwards as you come through your chaturanga and either take the knees down or keep them lifted. Go down halfway or all the way to the ground and then lift through your baby cobra or upward facing dog. Moving back down to your downward facing dog. Holding here for a moment, walk the dog out if you need. And then from here, we're going to inhale, lift this right leg nice and high. 3-leg dog, look between the hands. And from here, we're going to draw this right knee towards the right elbow. So into our plank, our lifted plank. Take a big, deep inhale. And as we exhale, draw it back to a 3-leg dog. Inhale, draw this right knee in towards the chest. And then exhale, draw all the way back towards a 3-leg dog. Last one, draw the knee across towards the left elbow. Inhale here, and as you exhale, shoot that foot through, place it to the floor. You can either keep the left hand to the ground or lift this left hand all the way up to the ceiling. You can even alter the gaze up towards the left hand. So stepping through into a variation side plank. Good, lovely. If you feel like you want to go a little bit harder, you can begin to lift that foot up slightly. So the foot that's through, we can begin to lift just a little bit. Good. Keep lifting through the hip, the chest twisting towards the ceiling. We can change the point of gaze towards the ceiling as well. Lovely, everyone. Really nice. Taking 2 more deep breaths here. See if you can get as much lightness through the hand that's pressing down into the floor as possible. So as if somebody's lifting you through that top hand. Last big breath here. Keep going, keep going. Inhale. And as you exhale, place the left hand all the way back. Lift all the way back through to your 3-leg dog. From here, take the right foot all the way down to the ground. You can either stay in your downward facing dog, come to a child's pose, or move through a vinyasa. So our vinyasa is simply our chaturanga into our baby cobra, upward facing dog, and back to our downward facing dog. And from here, we can all meet in our downward facing dog. So I'll give 2 deep breaths here, inhaling and exhaling. Last big breath, inhale and exhale. From the downward facing dog, let's inhale, lift this left leg nice and high, 3-leg dog. From here, draw this left knee to the left elbow, leaning over into our high plank pose. Press through the hands all the way back into our 3-leg downward facing dog. Draw the knee back in towards the chest this time. Bit of core work. Exhale back to our 3-leg dog. And then from here, draw this left knee over towards the right elbow. And then we let that foot thread all the way through. So it can come towards the ground, and then maybe we lift the right hand up towards the ceiling. And if you want the additional challenge, you can lift the left leg off the ground. Press through the hand, and as we do that, press through or lift through this right hand. So as if somebody's pulling your right hand all the way up, and we can lift as high as we can. Perfect. Hips lifting higher. Good. We're just going to take 2 more deep breaths here. Inhaling, staying with it, and exhaling. Last big breath here. Inhaling. On your exhale, take the hand back down to the ground, lift this foot all the way back and through into your 3-leg dog. Place the left leg down towards the ground, and then from here, we can either come to a child's pose, downward facing dog, or move through your vinyasa pose. Inhaling and exhaling. 2 more deep breaths here. Inhaling, lovely everyone. And exhaling. Good, and we'll meet in our downward facing dog. Inhaling and exhaling. From here, bend through the knees, engage the core, look between the hands. We're going to either step or as lightly as possible, float these feet forward, coming into a halfway lift. Exhale, palms down, head release. And inhale, come all the way to standing. Take the feet nice and wide and take the arms out to parallel. So from here, you want the feet about the width of where the wrists are. So the ankles are directly into the wrists.
And then make sure the feet are, the arch is parallel to the edge of the mat. Hands come to the hips. We're going to press through the feet. So press firstly through those outer edges, and then see if you can press a little bit inside as well, so that you'll see if that kind of changes the ankles just a little bit. So we're locking completely in. If you've got any kind of hyperextension with the knees, take a slight micro bend here. Otherwise, we're really straighten through the legs, get these legs really active. Draw the elbows back, lift through the chest. As we exhale, we're dropping from the hips. So dropping this chest forwards, flat back. And then we can release the hands down to the floor. We're coming to a wide forward fold. Inhale, take a halfway lift onto the fingertips. As you exhale, begin to drop the hands down and draw these hands all the way back so that they're moving towards being in line with the heels. Fingers face the same way as the toes. You let the head fully relax. Draw these hips slightly forward so that the weight is more going towards the toes. It may feel a little unbalanced, but this is actually straighter on the legs. Good. Lovely, everyone. Yeah, perfect, Amber. That's exactly where you want to be. You've got a perfect visual for me here. Good. From here, we can either stay in our wide forward fold, or if you're wanting to play with a tripod inversion, so this is a tripod headstand, and we've done this a couple of times in class, you can begin to move into that position. So this is absolutely voluntary. You don't need to do this, but you can have a play around with it. Good. Inhaling here. And exhaling. Taking 2 more deep breaths here. If you're playing with a tripod, that's fine. You can stay with playing with that tripod headstand. Last big breath. Inhale. And exhale. As you inhale, this is just for those in the wide forward fold, we can lift up towards a halfway lift. Take the hands to the hips and then inhale, lift all the way up. If you're playing with your headstand, begin to come back down. Take the hands behind the back, interlace the hands, and really squeeze this chest all the way up. And as you exhale, release down into a wide forward fold. If you come back from your tripod headstand and you want to play with a yogi headstand where we have the elbows together and we go onto the forehead, onto the crown of the head, you can absolutely play around with that. Otherwise, we'll come into this wide forward fold. Good. I think everybody's in our forward fold from here. Lovely. So as you do this again, keep shifting that weight towards the toes. Good. And keep pressing the hands over the head. Perfect. Yeah, really nice, Kelly. Great, Lily. Neve. Brilliant. Keep pressing the hips up towards the ceiling. Allowing the arms to release over the head. Just going to take 1 more deep breath. If those of you that can't see, a couple of you, if you are in a headstand, this is where we come out of it now. You can release. Good. And all together, we're going to inhale and lift all the way back up to standing. This is in 1 full sweeping motion. Good. Release the arms. Lift the arms up above the head. Just give the hands a bit of a stretch out. And then from here, we'll take the hands back onto the hips and begin to wiggle the feet in. So heel toe the feet in, so they're about wider than the hips. From here, we can take the heels in slightly, so we're not in that parallel position. And then we're going to come down into a yogi squat. So we're drawing the hips all the way down towards the floor. You can heel toe to where feels right for you then. And either the option is we can stay in our yogi squat, if this is where we feel right today. As we do this, we place the hands together and we think about lifting up through the body instead of kind of drawing as far down as possible. We want to find that lift and extension. If you want to play with our crow pose today, so we're throwing them all in, we can take the hands down in front of us. We want to lift these hips nice and high. So if you've never done crow pose, you can just prep for it by doing this as well. You take the palms down to the ground. You want to lift onto your toes and draw these knees in towards the armpits as much as you can. The higher they get, the easier it's going to be. And then this is where we play around with balance. So we want to draw these elbows more inwards towards each other so we create a shell. And then we begin to look slightly forwards. And we just play with the balance. So we can take 1 foot off the ground and place it back down. Then take the other foot off the ground and place it back down. Or we can play with going a little bit forward and taking both feet off the ground. Good.
Lovely, everyone. Yeah, so this is again, come back to that theme of acceptance, just seeing where we're at and playing with it. Lovely. So just taking a couple more breaths here to have a play around with that if you want to. Remembering to breathe and to come a little bit further forward than you think you might need to. Lovely. Last big breath here, inhaling. As you exhale, we'll make our way back. Great, Amber. Making our way back to that yogi squat. Good work, everyone. And from here in our yogi squat, let's take the hands down to the side. We're just going to rock back onto our bum. And then let the legs extend forwards in front of you. Coming to a forward fold, press through the feet. Lift the hands all the way up towards the sky. Draw these hands up, 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 as tall as you can. So this is these pulling these hands upwards. Keep the legs really flexed, really active, and then draw the hands to parallel. Keep the length through the crown of the head. And then as if there's that block, again, by the thighs. So as if there's a block there, we want to lift this belly up and over, drawing the hands forward. And you can either take hold of the toe, take hold of the leg, the floor, or maybe take hold of the outside of just of the feet. And use your breath here. So as you inhale, create even more length in the spine. And as you exhale, really think about pulling that chest forwards. Good, really nice. Just taking a couple more breaths here. Inhaling deeply and exhaling. 2 more breaths. Inhaling. As you exhale, draw as far forwards as you can, keeping the extension of the spine. Really good. Soften through the shoulders. Last big breath. Inhale. And exhale, drawing forwards. Last one. As you inhale, make your way all the way back to seated, to our forward fold. Good. So as we finish today, we've been working with acceptance. We've been working on arm balance. We're going to come together to do an inversion. So this is where we go upside down. So for this, you have 2 options. So a lot of the time we've worked with shoulder stand as well. So if today you feel like shoulder stand is the way that you want to go, please work with shoulder stand. That's absolutely fine. You can, even if you don't want to do an inversion, you can come to your legs up your wall. So, and just place your hips towards the wall, just lift them up and we can stay there. If you want to practice with headstand though, we're going to go through our headstand again. And this is a perfect time with headstand because you really don't need to be able to get up there in order to practice headstand. You can just come to it from the level that you're at. So I'm going to talk through it again. If you already know, if you already heard me say these kind of things, you can just come into practicing with your headstand or just coming into your shoulder stand, that's absolutely fine. But otherwise, I'm going to go through it for those who might not have heard it before. So for our headstand, what we want to do is we want to firstly grab hold of our elbows. We want to grab hold of those elbows. We're going to practice without the wall because we can practice without the wall. We don't need it necessarily. We grab hold of the elbows and place them down. So this gives us our width of where the elbows should be. From here, we allow the hands to interlace. And what we want is we want these little fingers to be in line with each other. So we might have to pop that bottom finger inside. From here, I'll change position so you can see. We take the crown of the head, so it's really far over onto the head. We take the crown of the head into that little space, and we begin to lift the hips. From here, the best thing with a headstand is we want these hips to be basically aligned with the head. So we want everything stacking on top of each other. We press down through these forms, so if they're not already there, that's fine, just know that it becomes a little harder. So we draw the hips over, and then we place one foot in towards us, and then you can take it back down, take the other, take it back down. That's where we can work with our headstand. Or if you feel you can, then you can come to a tuck position. From there, you can then lift all the way up, but we just work with that tuck to begin with. And we get that really secure, and that means that we're nice and safe. Good, yeah, brilliant. Good, everyone. So work from the tuck, work from drawing that knee in first, rather than taking the leg all the way up. Yeah, good. Keep pushing. So Kelly, keep walking those feet in slightly. Yes, brilliant. Good, good, good. Yes, the hips are now much more on top. Brilliant, perfect. And then we draw one in and we hold into the core. Good, so we've got this tuck position, lovely knee, yeah. So practice with taking the foot in towards the body, into that tuck, and then we draw back down. If you're feeling this quite a lot through the head, that's quite normal when we first practice. Eventually, when we're using our forearms, we can make more of the weight shift into about kind of 60, 70% through the forearms. It doesn't hurt our head very much at all. But for now, just do and feel where you're at. Good, Billy, lovely. Good, great. Yeah, that was perfect, Kelly. So you're moving all the way up, your hips really stacked on top of your head. That's exactly where you want to be working from. That's great, yes. And then you just tuck one knee in, engage the core, and hold, and then drop it back down, and then change sides. Good. Lovely, lovely. Great, Lily. Yeah, fab. Can just about make you out. Lovely, Neve. Perfect. So slowly we're going to make our way all the way back down to the floor. So if you're in your shoulder stand, if you're in your headstand. Great. From here, just come into a nice child's pose. And breathe. Good work. So this is really, again, like I said, today's really about acceptance, accepting where you're at with it. You were all doing inversions, you were all doing variations of them, and that's exactly where we're at. And that's perfect. So just in your child's pose, give yourself a moment here to get your breath back. Take a second. And then slowly we can begin to release up, and we're going to make our way into our Shavasana. So for today's Shavasana, you can come into our regular Shavasana, or you can take your legs at the wall. So if you want to kind of work into an inversion even more, it's a really nice way of doing it. And it's still suitable for Shavasana. So you take the hip all the way to the wall, or a sofa if you've got a sofa, and take the legs upside down, keep the hips moving in towards that wall. And you can take the hands onto the belly or out to the side and just close the eyes from here. So that is an inversion option today for our Shavasana. Otherwise, we can come to our normal Shavasana. Just allowing the arms to be a little away from the body, allowing the feet to be a little away from each other. And then wherever we are, closing the eyes, allowing the breath to become natural again. Body to become still. Soften the gaze behind the eyelids. Taking the tongue from the roof of the mouth if it's there. Releasing between the brows. Allowing the back of the head to just soften and melt into the ground. Release any tension you're holding unconsciously in the belly. If you find the mind wanders, come back to the breath. Inhale and exhale. Beginning to wiggle the fingertips and the toes. Taking a big deep inhale in through the nose, out through the mouth. Next inhale, stretch the arms up over the head onto the floor behind you. And on an exhale, draw the knees in towards you. If you're by the wall, you may need to push a little away from the wall. Give yourself a big squeeze. And then slowly rolling over onto whichever side of the body feels right for you. Take a moment here. And slowly bringing yourself all the way back to a seated position. Any comfortable seated position that feels right for you. And once there, taking your hands to the heart center. Closing the eyes if you've reopened them. Just taking a big deep inhale. And a big deep exhale. And with the eyes closed, just go back over the practice today and just remembering if there was a point where you felt that you weren't accepting where you were at in your yoga practice. And just take note of that. It's an area of frustration or irritation. And that's fine. That's why we practice yoga. We come to the present. We see where we're at. And then find another point in the practice, just where you did feel that you really accepted where you were at. That might have been pushing yourself further, or it might have been releasing a little back, not going full way. And just allowing yourself to carry on with your week. Find these moments of acceptance, where you acknowledge what's possible and what's slightly too much, and become happy in that space. Let's drop the head down to the hands and begin to flutter the eyes open. And looking back up.